development model. That is a model, a strategy that is supposed to enhance wealth creation by engaging 39% of the population that is not into the money economy. So far as a district, we have 56 parish development circles, and they have accessed funds. Last year we received about 560 million shillings, of which we have disbursed that money to them, and each beneficiary receives a maximum of 1 million shillings. Those PDM circles are into 56 parish.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
It is a beautiful morning. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for keeping it Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. That is UBC. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I am happy and glad to be here today, this Wednesday morning. And I'm hoping that you are also okay, that you're having a wonderful morning. And I'm hoping that you have arranged everything, that you have your ducks in the morning. And I'm hoping that you have arranged everything, that you have your ducks in a row to start the day, and of course be fruitful. That is the key. We have to be fruitful every single day. And speaking about fruitfulness, this Wednesday I would love us to crush on some women. Yes, it is Women Crush Wednesday, so that means that you get to crush on that woman in your life. It could be your mom, it could be a lady that inspires you, it could be your children, anyone, but we are crushing on women today. That is what we are doing. And of course for me, I am crushing on the ladies that help us raise our children, and that is the maids, the nannies, the governesses, whatever you want to call them. Ever wonder how life would be, especially in this country, if you couldn't afford to have someone to help you raise your children as you go ahead to work, to do whatever you're doing, so that you can focus and know that your children are safe, being taken care of by someone else that you have left at home that doesn't have any blood ties to them, but they're doing it anyway and doing it well. So I'm crushing on those ladies. If you have one that does a good job for you, love on them, appreciate them, because finding the right one is really, really hard. And speaking of that, I will go back to my colleagues and first of all say good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, and I'm also hoping that our dearest viewer is feeling good this morning. Thank you for joining us for the show. We look forward to spending the morning with you. This morning, I am crushing on the ladies that wake up very early in the morning to go make life work, especially the single mothers that did not get there voluntarily.
Yes.
I'm crushing on you guys this morning. You're doing a wonderful job. You are great mothers.
That's beautiful, Chantal. And I love the black, by the way. They say nothing shines brighter than black. And honestly, yes, you're shining.
Oh, thank you. And if you ever feel like you can't make a choice on what to put on, black is the color to put on.
Always, always. If you're a lady, the little black dress always saves the day. And good morning, Sonko.
Very good morning to you, Olive Monica Najuma. Should I get the names right?
Yeah.
And very good morning to all our dear viewers, wherever you're catching us from. Well, entirely Wednesdays are days, like you mentioned, where we crush on quite a number of women or important or influential personalities, female personalities.
Yes.
And as of for me, I think my first thought of the morning was going to some of the women who are doing this business thing on their own. We quite have a number of women who are doing business, others majorly in the small sector, others in the medium sector, those who do businesses on the roadside. There are those who actually wake up earlier than the men to go out there and make the money. You know, there's some age where women start focusing more on developmental ideas than some of us, the gents. because for us as life goes by, the enjoyments again keep coming in. But when you look at some of these women who wake up in the morning, if you happen to go in most areas, by the way, you will see taxis flooded with women who are waking up to go to markets, to do some shopping for their businesses, those who are actually rushing to town, others actually, you know, moving to taxi stages with their daughters and sons to drop them off to school before they can actually go out elsewhere. So those are women that I'm crushing on today. And more so in our business update today, we shall ideally look at the women in business, because there is also a report that is actually showing that they are currently hopeless with the fact that 50% of those women who are doing business in the informal sector are the verge of collapsing, which clearly shows you that those who have been resilient enough are still only lying with only hope. Yeah, but anyways, we crush on you so much, and we continue to pray for you as well as support you in the best way we can, and to keep telling you that everything is possible if you keep being resilient and pushing more and more.
All right, Sonko sounding like a motivational speaker this morning, but we are here for it. So if you're a woman in business, this is a good message for you, and we are here to tell you, please do not give up. It may be hard right now, but it is going to get better. So don't give up, keep steady, keep looking at the future, be focused, because the future is always great. That's what the Bible says anyway. And of course, about great things, good morning, Chirabo.
A lovely morning to you, the entire team, and of course our viewers.
Yes.
Thank you so much for waking up with us. Well, I choose to crush on the First Lady of the Republic of Uganda, Madam Janet Kataha Museveni. Why 50 years of marriage?
Oh, wow.
Today I decided to put on a ring
Okay.
on my finger after having some discussion with some of my friends, you know, the evening lessons. And somehow someone brought the topic of marriage, and we were all like, 50 years? Like, hey guys, what's happening on our faces? You know, sometimes men, we are not tolerable. It's very hard.
That? Wow.
But a lady who has made 50 years of marriage, and she had a very strong message to the women out there. Let us be.
You had to.
Give us peace.
Okay.
These little things that you run around talking about, checking my phone today.
I really want to respond to Robert.
It was a very good message, and I was like, if all women could do that, why won't I make 50 plus?
Okay.
Well, I crush on you.
Someone actually asked on social media and said, why wouldn't she give him all the peace in the world if there was money on the table? So if you're doing everything that you need to do, why wouldn't she give you peace?
Because actually, when men talk about peace, they forget that peace can only grow or thrive where you have put certain things in order.
Now listen to these daughters of Eve.
No, I appreciate the message from the First Lady, honestly, but some of you men deserve violence.
No, some women are so nagging that they'll even say, do you think it's all about your money that we need? You know, your time,
but
then
it's not
this,
only money we
then
need.
then that.
You know, you know why you're facing that challenge?
So 50, being with, let me tell you people, many people wed in Uganda today. We don't have formal statistics of how many of these weddings make it to 25 years.
And the reason is because women want money,
and
they don't
it's
give you
not only about money. Men become a problem. Women are nagging. That's why the Bible even says it's better to sleep on the roof of a house than staying in a house with a quarrelsome woman.
I want you to give me 5 more verses about men and women in the Bible away from that. You know, we like to cherry pick these Bible verses because you may find that right below that one, there is one that is telling a man to be responsible, to be honorable, to be respectful, to be loyal, but we'll jump into that later. And speaking about jumping into things, and this one is jumping to conclusions, security has come out, that is the spokesperson of the UPDF, Felix Kulaije, and he said that they are not so desperate to stop the the current movement by the leader of the opposition party, that is National Unity Platform, from traversing the country. He says they're not so desperate to stop him that they may come up with fake security alerts. And he was saying this because some Ugandans have been alleging that the security alerts are just, that they're fake, and that the rationale behind this is to stop Bobi Wine from traversing the country. And I actually find that petty, because why should a whole security agency fake something as big as that to stop one man from traversing the country?
Well, I hosted him yesterday, if I remember. That was Good Morning Uganda Extra, and I put the same question to him. But my brief answer will be, let time tell. Let time prove us right or wrong. We've seen something that we never expected, and I want to be very honest. No, people, please take no offense in this. The way police has handled, or security agents are handling the current principal tours, principal tours, is not in favor of NUP. It's not in favor of NUP. Because
so
let me tell you,
when people are dying?
And this was a very smart move. I wonder why things were not being done this way. If there had been tear gas or in the front page, Vision Monitor, whatever paper, front page, it would be Bobi Wine. Chagulanyi arrested, Chagulanyi.
And you could find
I've monitored for some time. Robert Chagulanyi has not got a big headline, heading front page. Why? Because they have been responsible enough, or they have learned from their mistakes,
police
and they are doing things very right.
Either
it is the NUP team that has learned how to do things right. Now, why am I saying time must tell? When these things began, we saw Brigadier General Felix Kwaji, defense spokesperson, writing a statement regarding army attire, ballets, uniform. But this had been done before, but there was it wasn't something. Now, let time tell when this young man comes to the central. Are we going to see the same story? You know? Because the good thing, even when he talked of bomb threats, he mentioned even distant areas. So terrorists are not only in Kampala.
That's true.
And they're not only targeting Kampala. They would target Chagulanyi wherever he is, or mobs or crowds, or anywhere. So let's just give it, time is the best.
Okay.
This proves it, proves that's right.
All right, that's true. We will wait and see. And of course, to add to what Robert has said, when these principal tours and the way the security agencies have reacted have really not benefited NUP. So if they were counting on being stopped, on there being chaos, it has not worked.
Opening up offices and having international community.
Maybe this is the government trying to prove that what Chagulanyi has been saying is all these years is wrong, but
NUP only flourishes where it is being depressed.
Because if you've listened to their principle when he's out of this country, Museveni dictator, this. Now, how are you going to come back to me if I'm mentally right? If I'm mentally right, I see you on your yacht cruising. Now you're traversing the country in a dictator's regime. This is not playing in their goal. It's just hitting.
Okay. Well, that being said, thank you so much for keeping it. Good morning, Uganda. We love that you love us, and we love you because you always watch Good Morning Uganda. If you're joining us for the very first time, Good Morning Uganda airs from 6:30 in the morning to 9 a.m. Monday to Friday. So you've not missed so much. We are still taking you through the first hours of the day. So sit tight and don't touch that remote to change the channel. Right about now, we will be delving into the local news stories, and later on, Chantal will give us the international stories, and a bit later, Sonko will give us the press review.
Well, let's begin with President Museveni, who has urged NRM members not to use their personal funds in politics. He said the practice by politicians to solve their constituents' problems is costly and depletes resources without significant impact. The president was meeting 478 NRM party flag bearers and chairpersons from Kampala's 5 divisions. He encouraged them to promote government programs. The NRM flag bearers congratulated President Museveni on his 50th anniversary of marriage to Mama Janet.
And moving on, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, has tasked the Ministry for Security to explain the escalating security threats following the emerging bomb and terror fears in the country. During plenary sitting, members also indicated that the security organs clarify and plan for deployment to counter the arising problem.
Still moving on, regarding security, security officials have met leaders of the born-again Pentecostal churches in the country and advised them to increase security at their churches. The Army spokesperson, Brigadier General Felix Kulaije, called upon religious leaders to cooperate with security after law enforcement agencies detonated at least 6 bombs in various areas, including churches. Security have met religious leaders to discuss this challenge. During the meeting to discuss the challenge, the born-again Pentecostal churches leader Bishop Moses Odong on the 26th of this month said that they had enough communication and were working with security agencies. Felix Kulaije urged religious leaders to be aware of strangers and erect checkpoints in every entry.
Away from that, economic life in Lukaya, Buuma and economic life in Lukaya, Buama and Kayabe towns along Kampala Masaka Road is revived following the acceptance of buses to cross Katonga Bridge, which burst its banks in May this year. This authorization was passed in a UNRA letter dated 4th September 2023, which also cautions drivers to follow all the traffic guidelines and signage placed along the road. The acceptance of buses to cross River Katonga follows a recent authorization of lightweight vehicles. After continuous technical monitoring, assessment and reinforcement of the affected parts, the bridge has been cleared to carry weight of up to 30 tons. The bridge is still in its first phase of rehabilitation and has been reinforced with gabions to prevent water from penetrating the structure. Signs of revived economic activity since accepting the buses to ply the route are visible in the towns of Buama, Kayawe and Lukaya, the famous Nyama Choma and roasted chicken roadside market. Currently, works on phase 2 include the construction of a steel bridge to enable the full restoration of traffic in the Katonga region.
Away from that, let's cross over and check what is happening on the international scene. Now, the Proud Boys' former leader has been jailed for 22 years for orchestrating the U.S. Capitol riot. The longest sentence so far for a ringleader of the raid on the seat of American democracy. Henry Enrique Tarrio was convicted of seditious conspiracy, a U.S. Civil War era charge, and other counts in May. Tarrio, 39, was not in Washington during the riot, but helped organize the far-right group's involvement. More than 1,100 people have been arrested on Capitol riot charges before he learned his fate on Tuesday. An emotional Tarrio apologized to police and residents of Washington, D.C. for his role in the 6th January 2021 riot when supporters of the then U.S. President Donald Trump stormed the congressional building as lawmakers met to certify Joe Biden's election victory. Away from that, Wagner, the U.S. mercenary group, is set to be proscribed as a terrorist group by the UK government, meaning it will be illegal to be a member or support the organization. A draft order to be laid in Parliament will allow its assets to be categorized as terrorist property and seized. The Home Secretary said Wagner was violent and destructive, a military tool of Putin's Russia. She said it works in Ukraine and Africa. She said its work in Ukraine and Africa was a threat to global security. Suella Braverman added, Wagner's continuing destabilizing activities only continue to serve the Kremlin's political goals. They are terrorists, plain and simple, and this proscription order makes that clear in UK law. Coming back to Africa, France is reported to be in talks with Niger's military about possible withdrawal of French troops from the West African nation in the wake of the fraying of ties following a coup in July, according to French media reports. Confirming the news, former French ambassador to Mali and Senegal, Nicolas Normand, told a news agency that according to his sources, talks were ongoing between the French and Niger militaries to partially withdraw troops. Normand said his source, who remains anonymous, indicated that discussions should not be seen as recognition of the coup leaders, but a technical discussion between the two militaries. A defense ministry source, who asked not to be named, told the AFP that discussions on the withdrawal of certain military elements were underway. The source did not give details. And also, we speak matters climate. More than 500 MPs from across Africa are today convening at Parliament buildings to discuss legislative interventions to mitigate effects of climate change. The Africa Climate Change Parliamentary Dialogue shall take place at the National Assembly chambers. The meeting is part of the inaugural Africa Climate Summit that comes to an end today. The conference started on Monday. Several heads of state and government and key dignitaries were among those who attended the high-level conference staged at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi. Comoros President Azali, Sierra Leone's Julius Maada, Burundian President Evariste Ndayishimiye, Ghana's Nana Akufo-Addo, and Sahui President Brahim Ghali are among the heads of state attending the conference. Others are President Salva Kiir from South Sudan, Saleh Wak Zewde from Ethiopia, Suluhu Samia from Tanzania, Macky Sall from Senegal, and Mohamed Al-Menfi from Libya. That's it for the climate and international news.
Thank you so much, Chantal. Now, Sonko will be taking us through the press review this morning.
And of course, now with the press review, I have the locals from Uganda and with me, two copies, the New Vision and the Daily Monitor. The New Vision with the headline, Government issues new rules on O-level assessment. Which rules are those? You can get more of that from the New Vision today. Keep money out of politics. President Museveni tells NRM members. There is a story on that with the New Vision today. And also from the education perspective, new curriculum pre-tests, including chemistry. You will get that and more. Now there's a pictorial of Bishop Kazimba cleaning the city, and of course he was leading a group of other church leaders in Kampala that participated in the exercise to mark Africa Climate Week. You can definitely get more of that in the New Vision today. Now the Office of the Prime Minister engineers remanded over 689 million Ugandan shillings bribe. Which officers are these? The New Vision gives you more details as a father abandons children in house over rent. Now elsewhere, still with our local press review, the Daily Monitor, as we look at the details coming in, is that sliced remains of woman recovered in septic tank. There's a big humanitarian report on that, still with the Daily Monitor today. As in the other headlines, Arsenal fan killed after Man United loss. Was this a needless death? As more of this is in the Daily Monitor. Now, political pressure, NRM policies making you poor, says Bobby Wine, as he was in Mayuge district. There's a pictorial of him addressing masses in there. As in the other news, Entebbe airport floods amid UPDF building works. I think we've all seen a video or pictures of the same since yesterday. Now, members of parliament criticized government over high school fees, and that is still with the Daily Monitor today. As in the addition of homes, micro topping, trendy floor and wall finishes. The Daily Monitor gives you more details of the same. As excel in PLE, find questions for English math. This is for parents who are taking their candidates back to school for third term. Then the Lizard has a detail in regards to time to build another airport, as Entebbe airport floods amid building works. That's it with the press review, Daily Monitor and the New Vision today.
Thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Uganda. We are going to leave you with a beautiful song from the one and only Beautiful, and of course the lady with the beautiful vocals, that is Juliana Kanyomos, and the song is I Am Still Here. We are crushing on you women, and you are still here.
Live from UBC Studio Parlor, this is Good Morning Uganda.
It is a beautiful morning. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for keeping it Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. That is UBC. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I am happy and glad to be here today, this Wednesday morning. And I'm hoping that you are also okay, that you're having a wonderful morning. And I'm hoping that you have arranged everything, that you have your ducks in a row to start the day and, of course, be fruitful. That is the key. We have to be fruitful every single day. And speaking about fruitfulness, this Wednesday, I would love us to crush on some women. Yes, it is Women Crush Wednesday. So that means that you get to crush on that woman in your life. It could be your mom, it could be a lady that inspires you, it could be your children, anyone. But we are crushing on women today. That is what we are doing. And of course, for me, I am crushing on the ladies that help us raise our children, and that is the maids, the nannies, the governesses, whatever you want to call them. Ever wonder how life would be, especially in this country, if you couldn't afford to have someone to help you raise your children as you go ahead to work, to do whatever you're doing, so that you can focus and know that your children are safe, being taken care of by someone else that you have left at home that doesn't have any blood ties to them, but they're doing it anyway and doing it well. So I'm crushing on those ladies. If you have one that does a good job for you, love on them, appreciate them, because finding the right one is really, really hard. And speaking of that, I will go back to my colleagues and first of all say good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, and I'm also hoping that our dearest viewer is feeling good this morning. Thank you for joining us for the show. We look forward to spending the morning with you. This morning, I am crushing on the ladies that wake up very early in the morning to go make life work, especially the single mothers that did not get there voluntarily.
Yes.
I'm crushing on you guys this morning. You're doing a wonderful job. You are great mothers.
That's beautiful, Chantal. And I love the black, by the way. They say nothing shines brighter than black. And honestly, yes, you're shining.
Oh, thank you. And if you ever feel like you can't make a choice on what to put on, black is the color to put on.
Always, always. If you're a lady, the little black dress always saves the day. And good morning, Sonko.
Very good morning to you, Olive Monica Najuma. Should I get the names right?
Yeah.
And very good morning to all our dear viewers, wherever you're catching us from. Well, entirely Wednesdays are days, like you mentioned, where we crush on quite a number of women or important or influential personalities, female personalities.
Yes.
And as of for me, I think my first thought of the morning was going to some of the women who are doing this business thing on their own. We quite have a number of women who are doing business, others are majorly in the small sector, others in the medium sector, those who do businesses on the roadside. There are those who actually wake up earlier than the men to go out there and make the money. You know, there's some age where women start focusing more on developmental ideas than some of us, the gents. Because for us, as life goes by, the enjoyments again keep coming in. But when you look at some of these women who wake up in the morning, if you happen to go in most areas, by the way, you will see taxis flooded with women who are waking up to go to markets, to do some shopping for their businesses, those who are actually rushing to town, others actually, moving to taxi stages with their daughters and sons to drop them off to school before they can actually go out elsewhere. So those are women that I'm crushing on today. And more so in our business update today, we shall ideally look at the women in business because there is also a report that is actually showing that they are currently hopeless with the fact that 50% of those women who are doing business in the informal sector are at the verge of collapsing. which clearly shows you that those who have been resilient enough are still only lying with only hope. Yeah, but anyways, we crush on you so much, and we continue to pray for you, as well as support you in the best way we can, and to keep telling you that everything is possible if you keep being resilient and pushing more and more.
All right, Sonko sounding like a motivational speaker this morning, but we are here for it. So if you're a woman in business, this is a good message for you, and we are here to tell you, please do not give up. It may be hard right now, but it is going to get better. So don't give up, keep steady, keep looking at the future, be focused, because the future is always great. That's what.
Uncle, you should see London. Oh, my boy. This has been 5 years. You should see Uganda. Yes. Uncle Marcus, this is my former school. See, soon there will be more than 1 million children learning like this for free. This is impressive. Do you even have connection out here?
Well, we have 100% 4G countrywide.
Okay.
We even have 5G too.
That's approximately 700 billion Uganda shillings in tax, making Airtel one of the largest corporate income taxpayers over the last 5 years, helping build a better Uganda.
Today, your son saw our new Uganda.
Thank you, Uganda, for imagining it with us and making us the fastest growing telecom in the country over the past 5 years.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. If you have just joined us, welcome. And if you have been with us since 6:30 in the morning, still, thank you for keeping it UBC and Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and I am joined by Chantal Olive Akandinda and Joram Paul Sonko. Time check is 7:02. That is 2 minutes past the hour of 7 this morning. And what are we serving you today? Today we want to look at the brutality, alleged cases of brutality on lakes in Uganda. And if you're wondering what kind of brutality we are referring to the alleged brutality by the UPDF Fisheries Protection Unit when it comes to the fishing community. Now we want to look at why the UPDF Fisheries Unit was first of all established, and of course the benefits that we have seen as a result of this establishment, but also look into the alleged brutality and what the government can do so that this is becomes an issue of the past. In July, there was a call by the shadow cabinet led by the leader of opposition in parliament, that is Matthias Mpuga, calling upon the government to look into the cases of brutality on the lake. Now, this is not the first time something like this is happening. And it is not the first time that the brutality cases are making headlines around the country or in different newspapers or different media houses talking about them. So we want to delve into that and see how we can find solutions, or maybe how you, the viewer, can give us some comments and of course suggestions on how best the country can avert this problem on our lakes. Now, going back to my colleagues, that is Chantal and Sonko, I would like to first of all find out, and for the viewer out there, why in the first place and when the Fisheries Protection Unit was formed.
In the first place, the major reason for setting the Fisheries Protection Unit was because there was a lot of bad fishing practices that took place on the different lakes, and this led to we reached a point where we saw reduction in the fish, and also on the market we had a lot of young fish, if I may use that, young fish that was being sold. And this, according to projections, this was not looking well for the industry and for the market. So the Fisheries Protection Unit had to come in to regulate, because we had people using bad fishing, practicing bad fishing practices or using bad fishing practices, and those that used bad fishing methods that were leading to the extinction, that were also leading to a number of challenges on the lake. And that was the major reason that saw this unit being put in place. And if I am not mistaken, this was around 2017.
Yes.
And well, we can't say that we have seen a lot of improvement, because back then people were fishing using the nets. Remember the nets that were being distributed by government?
For mosquito nets?
Yes, the mosquito nets. Those were some of the nets that were being used by the locals to go ahead and carry out fishing. And of course, this was a bad practice. And we have seen that change over time, because a number of nets have been banned over the years. And people have really done their best to make sure that they get in line. And this regulation has really worked well, aside from, of course, like you said, the cases that we have seen over time where the different personnel are mishandling some of these fishermen or whoever, actually. I don't want to say fishermen, but I do know that there are women who are also involved in this, in this industry. So whoever takes part in the fishing
basically
industry.
The fishing community.
The fishing community, yes, that's the word.
Okay, so now, since the 2017, when this Fisheries Protection Unit was formulated, has there been improvement in fish stocks?
Indeed, we have seen improvement in the fish stocks, because at a particular point, there was a time when we had about, if I'm not mistaken, over five companies that were actually closing during that time, because I mean, at some point the fish in Lake Victoria was reducing. But as of now, if you know people that are into fishing, they'll tell you there's fish available. And that is not just on Lake Victoria, but on the different lakes and water bodies where fishing takes place. So it has actually done, I think they've done pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, before we look into the allegations of brutality by the Fisheries Protection Unit onto the fishing community, there are also allegations that the fishing community itself, I'm trying to steer clear of fishermen, like Chantal said, but there are allegations that even themselves are brutal towards each other, and I would like to know why.
It's the dark side of fishing. And a couple of times we have people who also deal in smuggling of either the fish maw. The fish maw is one of the most wanted.
The fish what?
As the fish maw.
What is that?
Could call a nuni in the Lugandan language.
Oh,
so,
they say it is highly...
it's highly on market in countries like China especially. So there is a lot of smuggling of the same, even amongst the fishing community, whereby at times one would ask, why did the government have to employ armed forces in the first place? Because of the fact that even the smugglers themselves, some of them use arms during such times. Remember, fishing normally happens or takes place in the night time. So it is night time, or what you could call the morning hours of the day, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. That is when most of the fishing community is out there already getting the fish, so that by morning time, we're already seeing fresh fish on the market. But then during such times, we've actually seen or heard of cases whereby some people smuggle fish and it's packed, and then because of the advantage that comes with getting the large kilograms of fish, someone just gets it out illegally, and because there are already safety measures under which you're supposed to follow if you're under a fishing community, because at least you're all fishing from the same water bodies. So that means it's more like a business community, which is regulated by themselves first, before the government obviously comes in, to check out the standards of which kind of fish is being netted out and all this. But in the incidents whereby we have cases of fishermen themselves or the fishing community in the country, the main reason has been the fact that they had different issues between them, what I could call wrangles or selfish interest. Everyone or one who had the power would actually benefit more from the poorest of the fishing community. And this is when government started realizing that we have issues around these fishing sites. And they had to definitely go in, step in and start the regulation. Though I still want to believe that, you know, trying to put out the armed forces more is a bit frightening to some of the fishing community. Because when you look at, for example, a soldier coming to you, you may actually feel scared thinking he's going to arrest you even though you're not in wrong. So I think
that's a good thing, right?
It is a good thing, but at times you may be scared.
Okay.
Even when you're not in wrong. You know, at times you're never in wrong.
But if you're not in wrong, why are you scared?
It is an African thing. It's an African thing where even if you look at a police officer somewhere, you'll start thinking you have something wrong with you. So I think this is why most of the people in the fishing community feel frightened every time they see armed forces around the area. And that's why some of them feel... Are they frightened
because it is police officers, or they're frightened because of the things they have seen happen to their mates in the community?
Obviously, in the business communities, in most cases, there are some issues that normally happen. There are some wrangles. Even when you go to any other area, you'll still have some issues in there. It is a money, you know, it's that money thing whereby one person wants to earn more than the rest. So there is some dirty work that always happens. And so every time people see these armed forces coming in, of course the armed forces are there to maintain order and also check on the quality of you know, fishing products, because some people actually use poison. And this also, you know, leads to, you know, damage of the water bodies first, and then also the other water creatures, which may not only be the fish that is actually being netted out. But nonetheless, I think it was the unruly or the ungovernable nature of the fishing community that pushed the government to as well get into this sector and also use the armed forces.
Okay. Now, of course, like Chantal said, there have been benefits or, you know, positives after the formation of the Fisheries Protection Unit. The stocks of fish have gone up, and the companies that had closed reopened, and now at least about 5 are thriving in this industry. So that is a plus. But now let's look at the allegations of brutality on these lakes. I'm interested to know what kind of brutality are we looking at here?
Beating. There are beatings. Most of the people who actually come out to allege are saying, some of the armed officers, I'm using some because not everyone. So they're actually saying some of these armed officers, and I think it is the reason as to why the others are frightened when they see any armed officer around. They think it is the same case. Others may be there to defend or protect, but then some allegations are revealing that some of the armed officers come through, you know, and beat up some of these fishermen or let's say the fishing community, people engaging in the fishing industry. And then there are also some allegations where some say some of the other armed officers take away, you know, property of the fishermen. Now all these are allegations, of course, because these are people who are in there. Well, at times these allegations may come out as a way of people trying to, you know, to push away the idea of having the armed forces around them, so as they can operate without anyone watching over. But then also, when you look at what happens is, at times, we all know the UPDF is one of the most, you know, most disciplined, let's say, security organization in the country.
Yes, it is.
Because of the fact that, you know, it is world over where people would say a soldier will hit you on order. So that means at times if they're being hit or beaten, where we have not so many case scenarios as much, but they are there, you get to realize that it's either one person is trying to smuggle something out of the lake and running away. If you happen to go to all these fishing sites, they are border men who ride these borders without minding about who is in their way. Now, these are the smuggling cases we hear about. Then there are also those who park, tinted vehicles, and they are smuggling something. Like I did mention, the fish maw. It is very expensive, and once someone gets it, they park it because they don't want it taxed. They park it, and they don't want any official around because these water bodies already have officials. So they park it in the vehicles. They drive at a very terrible speed, and in most cases they end up knocking everybody. So this is where and it is actually for people who have actually watched the army arrest some of these people or other authorities like the police, they actually reveal that most of these smugglers also carry arms with them. They have like pistols or other arms.
It's a cartel of sorts.
So they start shooting back at. Now, if you're shooting back at an army officer, they're definitely going to treat you as a terrorist. Or
no, they are supposed to shoot back.
Yeah, they have to shoot back
like
that.
Because it is more like we are now fighting an enemy.
That's true.
So these are some of the cases that do happen. And I'm not even generalizing the fact that the fishing community here is engaging in all this. But now, for example, what you're seeing on screen is an example of some of the fish which is not supposed to be fished. Because it is illegal, but because it is lucrative and people get the money, they end up going in there. And this is some of the things that the armed forces are out there to make sure they prevent. Because
now,
people are engaging in this, trust me, some of them also have the arms.
Okay, I understand the rationale behind the unit and of course the benefits, like we said, fish stocks increased. But then what do we have to say about cases of extortion and of course grabbing of fish and indiscriminate destruction of fishing gear by the unit?
I'm going to first bring it back to our traffic officers. They're put in place, control traffic, and control any bad behavior on the road. So ideally this fishing unit was put in place to control bad fishing practices on the lake, and of course there is order and everything. Same applies to our traffic. I'm driving to a conclusion, but you're going to realize that at some point they'll tell you traffic police is the most corrupt, right?
Yes.
And you're wondering, these are people who are supposed to be enforcing the law. These are people who are supposed to make sure there is order on the road. But they are, they're going to grab you. I don't know if you've interacted with somebody, I guess they'll tell you, these men are on the road, but even if you have a permit and a reflector jacket and everything, they're going to tell you, park the other side, because they want money. These are things being said by the victims of some of these cases. So when you go back down to the fisheries unit, you realize that what is happening on the streets with the traffic is what is happening with the fisheries unit. They are likely to grab you and you have everything you need, but they'll tell you no. All because they need money. I interacted with someone yesterday who is traversing different landing sites in the country, in the north, and this person tells you there's a lot of corruption with the fisheries unit. And if you're not careful, if you don't know your way around it, you are definitely going to have challenges with this unit. What do they want? Money. You might have everything you need, and you're supposed to present to them, you have the license, you have the right fishing gear, but they will tell you, no, you're not going to fish today. So that means you have to get something from your pocket and give it to them for you to be able to access the lake and continue with your activities. This is where you're feeding from. So just like what we are seeing on the streets of Kampala, the traffic officers collecting bribes here and there, according to reports that we have seen, it's the same thing that is happening on the other side
of the water bodies. Some people, actually, it is true that some individuals, even on the road, there are people who don't have permits. So it is true that there are individuals who are carrying out bad fishing practices and do not have the right gear and the right licenses to carry out fishing. But we can't also deny the fact that in there are people who have everything, but they are being treated unfairly by the fisheries unit. And also, there was a time the former Speaker of Parliament, that is the Right Honourable Rebecca Kadaga, came out and requested that these soldiers either be withdrawn or be put in,
in control.
She actually didn't request, she directed.
Yes, unfortunately for her, it did not go as planned. And we've also seen Parliament pass a number of resolutions over the years. The unfortunate bit is that we have not seen these resolutions being put in place. What does that show you? It looks as if these people are untouchable, because who is regulating them?
And who is benefiting from their being
Who
on
is
the
making sure that these boys are in order? I'm using the word boys because they usually call themselves boys. That these boys are in order and doing the right thing. Just like, you know, if you have an issue with a traffic officer, you know where to go. So where should someone go? And are they going to get help either when they go there?
Okay, so let's look at the challenges the fishing community has raised over the years, and they say that among these include confiscation of boats and vehicles by enforcement officers, ban on smoked fish, torture, harassment by beating, and in some cases killings. Wow. This is sad. So killings, and of course other allegations are arbitrary arrests and detention, extortion, and general disharmony among the fishing community. This is what was shared by their chairperson, Janet Okori Moore. This is sad, because if you're going to enforce and even end up killing people, then aren't you overstepping what you're supposed to do?
No one has the right to kill the other, yeah?
So, yeah.
You get, so if even if I'm not in the wrong, but you've seen something suspicious, the only thing you have to do is arrest me. Take me and put me in custody, question me or interview me, then we get to a conclusion.
And the fishing community, that story you mentioned when the former Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, ordered that the Fisheries Protection Unit be removed from the lakes. Apparently, according to the fishing community, they actually increased the torture after that, and they would tell them, go and report us. And this is on this is in an article that is on the Parliament's page, and they said that they were being beaten even more and being asked to go and report.
We had
to
reports
Kadaga.
being put in
And
place.
some of them even said that even when they found you with the standard net of fishing gear, they would confiscate it and export it to Kenya.
The part of exporting to Kenya, I think, is what didn't come out to be really blown up. But yes, we did have reports. Ever since, we did have reports of people being tortured on the lake and the different landing sites.
I think this is where I also stand with some of the opposition leaders who believe that it's, when you look at these brutality cases, even murder, or the killings that are being highlighted, it is also, it would be of a good sort of idea for government to also think about using, for example, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries to set out different officials to man that fishing sector, because some of the the fisher community believe having the armed forces who to some were supposed to be safeguarding the water bodies, but if they are engaging in activities of beating them up or even engaging in the killings, then it's not the right kind of unity you would wish to have on a landing site, because on these landing sites we've seen quite a number of people who have worked and lived there for their entire lifetime. Since childhood, we have those who have actually been raised and have houses even on the landing sites, so their life depends on that water body. So ideally it's more like someone is trying to get into someone who is supposed to safeguard you from any other outside or external attack is the same kind of person inflicting pain on you.
But also, again, think about it like this. As we are talking about the different, the atrocities that have taken place in those areas, let's not forget the fact that even some of the communities are not easy communities to deal with.
I was coming to that, yes.
They're not easy communities to deal with.
Yeah?
They are hostile communities, and at some point you're not going to blame them. How far in education did they go That is question number one. And the other question would be, how informed are they?
I think it's not even just a matter of education, because most of them are not really highly educated. But
exactly, that's what I'm driving at, because
sort of education,
their mindsets are different.
Yes.
You realize that if you tell this person, listen, do not use a mosquito net to fish, it's not going to make sense with this person, because in their mind all they want is to put food on the table.
And if you tell them do
and they've
not
been using
catch
it for the
young
longevity
fish,
of time.
Thank you.
They will not understand that, because in their mind they want to make money.
And they don't see the impact of fishing the young ones. They don't realize that in the next few months or years, there's going to be a shortage in fish. They don't seem to see that. You realize that their minds are only thinking, you know, up to the end of the day. They are thinking, they're not thinking about what's happening in the next 3 months. Is this progressive? Is this going to take us far? If they are putting food on the table today, tomorrow they will think about tomorrow when tomorrow reaches. So you realize that such a mindset is also hard to deal with, and enforcement gets a bit complicated. However, I would say this, we could handle the situation a lot better
but
than being
a lot better than being brutal.
Yes.
But like Sonko said, some of these people even have guns that they use to shoot back at,
I can assure you the ones that have guns are not the ones who are suffering
at the
landing sites. No. Let me tell you what happens. Someone leaves Kampala and goes to a particular landing site, recruits these people that go on the water and fish, and tells them what they want. Now, it's entirely upon these people to make sure that they have the fish. All this person has to do is come with money and give it to them. So the question is, are we aware of which exact people should be targeted, if we should target to have people put in order? The ones that are involved in in arms exchange and everything, these are not the fishing communities. These are not the locals that are facing the brutality of the fisheries unit. They are not. They're not the ones.
We encourage you to join this conversation. You can text us on WhatsApp. The number is 0709602592. And the question we are asking you this morning is, how best can the government avert brutality on lakes? And of course, how best can we ensure that there are safer ways of catching fish on the lakes? Chantal, I would like to come back to you for a minute. When we talk about illegal fishing gear, what do we mean? Can you give us examples of what these fishermen or the fishing community is using to catch fish and the government finds that inappropriate?
I would list like two that I'm very well aware of. The first is the mosquito nets. Those ones.
You've mentioned the mosquito nets.
Yes, because they are actually using mosquito nets. Also, there is something called kokota. And I got an explanation. I also wasn't aware of what kokota meant. But this is a particular net that collects anything, however small, that is in the lake. So now you can imagine the type of fish that was or is being caught by this kokota that we are talking about. So two that I'm very well aware of, the kokota and the fish, the mosquito nets that are being used by some of these fishermen.
Okay, and of course, when we talk about illegal fishing, someone may be thinking, so muloza banaliachi, or where should they eat? But actually, if you look at what research says, it says that illegal fishing can actually lead to 76% of fish species to be extinct. So if we encourage this behavior, you will find that in a few years from now, we may be not be able to get your favorite tilapia. We may be not able to get your favorite Nile perch and many other types of fish that we enjoy here in Uganda. But of course, you know, for instance, the biggest lake in East Africa is Lake Victoria. So you'll find that our mates in Kenya, Tanzania, and some parts of Rwanda are also fishing from this lake. Now, if we encourage illegal fishing in any country in East Africa, what that means is that at some point we will not be able to catch fish, and that means the lake will only be for transport. And yet these fishing communities actually depend on fishing as a way, you know, to earn a living, and of course, it is food for them.
But you see, I think our regulations here need some huge room for sensitization, especially the local fishermen. Because when you look at, if you go to the other landing sites, for example, in countries like the nearby, Kenya, Tanzania, for example, Kisumu, the level of fish that they have, even the quality of the fish that they are having, or that they sell out on the markets, is way better than ours. And yet we are actually using the same lake. So I think there is a lot of desire for money with our communities in here. You know, there is also a saying of in Uganda which says that omuvubi alya kivubi. Normally because they know they get money every day. So someone can make maybe 2 million and they spend that same money even tomorrow because they know it's...
No, the other reason why they do that is because they know that, of course, their business is highly risky. Every time you go into the lake, you don't know if you will come back.
If you'll come back.
And that also explains why fishing communities are extremely poor.
So at the end of it all, it's more like for them, they are living for the day, and they don't even mind about the fact that maybe tomorrow, what will I, you know, get, or it's all about getting what to eat today. But then also what is affecting is that the people who are supposed to be helping out, or the educated people who understand the fishing business more, are the ones who lead, you know, who are actually pushing these fishermen into the poor fishing, you know, situations. How? I'll put it in this way, because remember, me, Sonko, who is from Kampala, residing from Kampala, I know there is another Sonko who is in Masese, let's say. So my idea is I'll go to Masese, pay, let's say, the Sonko on the site 1 million shillings and tell him I need to get this amount of fish every day from you. So now the other one will always be, you know, motivated by the money I'm giving them, because for you will be pressurizing them, not caring about what methods they are going to use for as long as they give you the fish. So it is something to do with a collective effort, but majorly government needs to, first of all, try to understand the environment, because not only putting the armed forces there will prevent these people from using illegal methods, but then also trying to read and understand what forces them to get in there. Because you may find when the fishing nets are very expensive to most of them, we really know how poor the fishing communities are, honestly. However much they are always getting money on a daily. But there is also that element of poverty amongst the majority.
So it drives them,
you know, it drives them, you know,
fishing
to get
practices.
the simplest way to get this fish. That is why some of them actually also use poison. But remember, poison also damages the water body.
And it takes you back to the mindset. They don't know that what they're doing is actually wrong.
But for them, it is all about the cheapest way or method to get the fish.
But then let's look at the organized crime syndicates, because there is the poor fisherman that is trying to catch a few fish, sell them and survive for the day. But then there is people, like you said, what did you call it? Fish more, that get it and are exporting it out of the country. You'll find that with these ones, the amount of declared fish vis-a-vis the amount of the undeclared, the declared one is way lower when it comes to tonnage. So most of the undeclared is what is exported out of the country, and these people are making huge profits when it comes to this. So I am curious to know, because I know that Parliament has mooted different laws and penalties against illegal fishing in the country, and I want us to look at these. What are some of these penalties that Parliament has put in place?
Well, before we get into these penalties, just a quick one. It's something that just crossed my mind. When you mentioned the fish maw, it's actually under a specific, it's of a specific species of fish. I think it is the Nile perch. So is the Nile perch the importer?
Yes, importer.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it is of that specific one. And this is where we've actually got some of the people who get into this, and they're looking for that specific fish. That has also led to some people you know, dealing in using illegal methods because they are hunting for one specific fish species. And at times, if you're looking for a specific fish species, it is not easy to get every day.
That's true.
So that means you're going to use all the exploitative methods you have.
And in so doing that, you're going to destroy others that are supposed to be left where they're supposed to be. So let's go back to the tough penalties against illegal fishing that have been put in place by Parliament. And of course, let's look at whether or not these are working.
Well, some of the penalties that have been put in place by the Parliament, one could be if you are caught with undersized fish, you will be liable to 7 years imprisonment or a fine of 200 million Uganda shillings. And those are some of the measures that have been put in place because of these destructive practices. However, you could also face a 5-year jail term on conviction, or 5-year jail term and 200 million or both. There is where you can face either or you can face both, depending on what you've been caught doing. So we are talking about we are talking about aquatic plants or animals in fishing waters, and those who place pollutants into water bodies, and those are people that will be facing the 5 years jail term or 200 million Uganda shillings or both, depending on what you've done. But if you are carrying out poor fishing practices, other poor fishing practices, then you're looking at about 8 years without an option of a fine.
So this bill,
if you have firearms, if you're caught with firearms, 8 years, no option of a fine.
Okay.
Yes.
So this bill also proposes penalties for unlawful seizure of prohibited fishing gear or vessels, counterfeit fishing licenses, and impersonating fisheries officers, fisheries officers soliciting bribes, among others. Now, the big question here is, yes, the law on paper looks beautiful, but is it being implemented? Is something being done to these fisheries protection unit officers that are extorting and of course torturing people in the fishing community?
We haven't had as much coming from this bill that was actually proposed, and by then this bill was proposed by the, like I said, the former minister, the former speaker of Parliament, that is the Right Honourable Rebecca Kadaga. But we are still seeing the same things happening on the different landing sites. So that means, I think on the part of the fishing community, yes. On the part of the fishing community,
you wanted to say fishermen.
Fishermen, yes. We have seen a reduction and hence an increase in the number of fish, especially on Lake Victoria.
Yes.
But there's still a lot more to be desired.
The torture is still there. The corruption.
Bill, yes. This bill does not seem to have the bigger part or a bigger part of it protecting the fishing community. At a point, when you look at this bill, it was meant to counter their actions, which in the first place was the reason as to why the fisheries unit was put in place.
Yes.
However, I think there was no consideration for the community, because we're not seeing much that protects them from the actions of the unit.
Yeah, you're actually right. Of course, because when you also look at some provisions like having a license, if you have no license, you're not operating, which means it's also going to be more of a limitation to quite a number of them, which is also good anyways. It's good, but you know, when you look at the terms of getting licenses in Uganda, we all know how
even
difficult
the
driving
license itself.
No, maybe the driving license is easier. But when you look at some of these situations, for example, in areas where the fishing industry, most of the people within it are in the informal sector, and we all know how difficult it is to regulate the informal sector. They have not started. Most of them are not, have not. most of them are illiterates.
Some
So,
of them don't
you know,
even know why. First of all, if I
Exactly.
was born and raised by in a fishing community,
we had no
why I
licenses
need
by
a
the time.
license to
So
get
this
fish
is one way to get-
to eat.
this is
This
one-
is our lake.
Yes.
Yes.
Enyanja
Like,
yaffe.
you tell them the quality of your boat is not worth to be on, you know.
But nakulira
and then-
kuli ne
yeah,
eryato.
this is our family
Probably
boat.
inherited it, yes,
Exactly.
thank you.
So when you look at that kind of mentality and mindset, it even becomes more difficult. That is why some of them again look at it as a limitation rather than something that is going to help them.
That's true.
smoothen,
So
the fishing.
sensitization is
Very,
lacking
very
when
important.
it comes to this. I have some views coming in as we close, and this one says, "Good morning, the ladies and gentlemen in the building. Thanks for the show. Agonzebwa Abel, Lord Mayor from Bundibujo. The fact is, illegal fishing is a bad practice which fishmongers intend to practice, but sometimes laws are put in place without implementation. However, much crime is done, but revenue should learn how to handle illegal fishmongers. In case you arrest someone, don't torture the person in the wrong to an extent of killing them because you have already violated them. Why do you now assault the person? Remember, fishing is the source of income, and it is where people depend. To those who stay around lakes and rivers. By concluding, I encourage sensitization and awareness creation on impacts of illegal fishing such that communities are aware of what should be done. And he also says that collect their views to why they intend to practice illegal fishing. Maybe they have financial predicaments in procuring legal fishing materials. And of course, this is what Sonko was alluding to, that some of them have difficulty getting the licenses. And of course, others don't even know why they need licenses in the first place. So sensitization is needed. And of course, a lot of education when it comes to safe ways of fishing and using the right fishing gear. But of course, going back to the Fisheries Protection Unit, you've done a good job. The stocks are up right now, but the torture has to go down. And of course, there have been allegations of corruption, and I'm hoping that the government can look into these and come to a good understanding with the fishing communities. This is Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma. We will take a short break, and when we come back, we will have the Good Morning Uganda business and of course, traffic updates.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Uncle, you should see London. Oh, my boy. This has been 5 years. You should see Uganda. Yes. Uncle Marcus, huh? This is my former school.
See, soon there will be more than 1 million children learning like this for free.
This is impressive.
Do you even have connection out here?
Well, we have 100% 4G countrywide.
Okay.
We even have 5G too.
That's approximately 700 billion Uganda shillings in tax, making Airtel one of the largest corporate income taxpayers over the last 5 years, helping build a better Uganda.
Today, your son saw our new Uganda.
Thank you, Uganda, for imagining it with us and making us the fastest growing telecom in the country over the past 5 years.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
And here we are for the Good Morning Uganda business update of the morning. And to our viewers from Ntungamo, everyone is applauding what the residents in Ntungamo are doing in regards to using or utilizing the parish development model funds to rehabilitate their roads instead, rather than focusing on putting that money into use. Now, some of them actually believe if they make these roads, it would be better for the transportation of their particular farming produce from the gardens to the nearest markets. Then also for those in cattle rearing, obviously, it is also a safer passage for their animals. So it is something that Ntungamo district or Ntungamo residents decided to take on. But from the business perspective, it is something I did mention earlier from the opener for those who didn't start with us. But this particular one is relating to women in informal business. The informal businesses. The women in business form up the majority of business owners. That is in the informal sector. Speaking of the informal sector, this includes the small and medium-sized enterprises, or what you could call the mama kaduka, the people the women who sell in various local markets in the country. But this may not be good news according to the findings that are coming up, because the findings are warning that the higher number of women expressing hopelessness is concerning, because over 60% of the women who are also household heads are over and have half-lived children with them may have their businesses collapsing or are on the verge of collapsing. So more than half of women owning informal businesses and their employees do not have hopes of recovering fully due to the impact of COVID-19, simply because the informal businesses that most of the women were operating were these kind of businesses that were requiring customers or clients to come physically. And during the 2 years of COVID-19, because of the travel restrictions and the limitations here and there, we can all agree most of these businesses went on leave, if I'm to put it in that way, or were silent during such times. It's only those who are operating from their localities who are able to sustain some of their customers. But remember also, there was also need for one to get into town to as well require them to make more of or add stock to their businesses, which was difficult for some of those who didn't have means of transport to use. So the cost of doing business became even more harder or higher, which led to some of them to change to another line of business. Then the others decided to clearly close down the businesses. And the study, which was conducted by the International Center for Research on Women, says among 411 women in markets in 3 Kampala divisions of Kawempe, Nakawa and Rubaga, for instance, also clearly sheds light on the impact of COVID-19 on the well-being of women, jobs and businesses, because some of these women are either mothers or married. So at times during COVID-19, they had to balance more of the family relations or had to balance more of family time than their work time. So this also laid a very huge impact on their businesses, and the majority of study participants were self-employed. If you to look at most of the women in business, most of them are self-employed, and these are either owning a small shop, let's say, or one who is actually owning a boutique somewhere, or let's say a small eatery in a locality or in a market. So this is where this comes in. Now this report was of course released and earlier by the month of August, and researchers asked about the potential for improved livelihoods following the lifting of the lockdown, and the majority of women expressed marked bleakness about the future. So most of them don't know whether they will survive or whether they will recover, but it's all about being hopeful and resilient. And also there was also a report, by the way, when you look at earlier regarding the fact that 4% of women in business are only those who are likely to benefit from using the digital spaces. So by the look of, when you look at all these numbers, clearly shows you there's a lot of intervention that needs to come through in regards to supporting women in businesses by non-government organizations, or as well as the other bodies that support the women, or even looking at the bigger picture, the government of Uganda. Now, summing up with the GMU Business Update this morning, we take a look at the Forex updates, or the Forex market as of close of business Tuesday. The US dollar was opening at 3,715.08. That is if you're buying in Ugandan shillings, while selling was at 3,725.08 shillings. But then closing, that is evening time, was 3,724.38 Ugandan shillings, and then selling was at 3,734.38 Ugandan shillings. Now on the other hand, the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,697.18. that is closing if you're buying using Ugandan shillings, while selling was at 4,709.80 shillings. Now the euros was buying at 4,017.11 shillings, while selling at 4,027.90 shillings. The Kenyan shillings, on the other side, was buying at 25.53 shillings, while selling at 25.60 shillings. Doesn't change too much if you come to think of it. Then the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.48 Ugandan shillings, while selling at 1.49 Ugandan shillings. Then the South African rand, on the other hand, closing time was buying at 194.18 shillings, while selling at 194.70 shillings. So that means the chances are it will be opening up at that particular time for anyone who's willing or who's going in to exchange some currencies. Meanwhile, elsewhere, we now focus on what is making headlines from the different papers. First, we revisit the headlines from Uganda before we look at what is making headlines in Kenya and Tanzania. From the Ugandan perspective, the New Vision highlights government issuing new rules on O-level assessment, as also President Museveni reminds politicians to keep money out of the politics, as he was speaking to NRM members. Inside also, there is a new curriculum for pre-tests. That is for the chemistry subject, as Archbishop Kazimba joins the rest of the climate activists to clean the city. There's a pictorial of that. And also a father abandons children in house over rent. That is a report in the New Vision, as the OPM engineers remanded over 689 million shillings bribe. That is according to what is in here today. Now also elsewhere with the Daily Monitor, still with the local press review here in Uganda, is that an Arsenal fan has been killed after Man United loss. Where was this? You can get this more from the Daily Monitor. As sliced remains of woman recovered in septic tank. Huge report in the Daily Monitor today. And in the Homes magazine, micro topping trendy floor and wall finishes. You can still get more of that. Now in Excel in PLE, as candidates of P7 prepare for third term, there is some questions for English, math, science and social studies for your pupils. As parents, you can ideally grab a copy of that. Then the Lizard says, is it time to build another airport? As floodings hit Entebbe Airport as extensive works continue. Now in the other news, Entebbe Airport floods amid UPDF building works as members of parliament criticize government over high school fees. Now let's across the borders to Kenya. The Daily Nation highlights the Africa Climate Summit. President Ruto says, don't kill us with debt. Why did he mention this? More of that with the Daily Nation today. Then Raila team wants political parties to pick IEBC chiefs. There's a report on that with the Daily Nation. As a pay boost, win for acting officials as members of parliament reject proposal to deny them allowances. And in the magazine of parenting, let's talk about the soaring cost of diapers. The Daily Nation gives you a report of that. In Kenya, then motoring, the must-have tools to carry in your car as you're moving further. Then a penalty. Trader has been hit with 81 million Kenyan shillings fine for evading taxman. As lawyers make U-turn resides decision to withdraw Mumia's case. The Mumia's case continues in Kenya. Now, lastly, from press review, I stand on the Citizen newspaper in Tanzania, as the Tanzania's grand food sustainability strategy has been highlighted. Also, tracing / diplomatic political ups and downs. As in sport, football, the Taifa Stars all set for AFCON duel against Algeria. Remember, the Taifa Stars are also in the same group as the Uganda Cranes, who will be taking on Niger in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Now, elsewhere, Samia proposes special climate fund for Africa. Where was this? During the Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi. Then German links colonial skull to Tanzania. You can get more of that in the Citizen. Then CTI and Finance Ministry address Paula Pazzo. That is it for the press review and the GMU business update this morning. It is time for us to understand what is happening within the atmosphere of the traffic this morning within the country with Chantal. No, rather with Olive Najuma. You know, both of you have the olives on you, so it is very difficult to
just
catch
stick
up.
to Olive.
Olive.
Well, a beautiful morning once again. If you're just joining us, this is the time where we take you through the traffic updates on some of our roads this morning. And today we will be picking it up from Luzira around Nile Breweries. And I have good news for you. The roads this side of town look pretty clear, as you can see there around Uganda Breweries and of course near the taxi stage. The roads are very clear. Almost nothing is happening there. So if you are hitting town and you're coming from these areas, you are in a good spot. Now moving along to Port Bell Road, you're going to find that there is still smooth flow of traffic within Luzira around KCB Bank branch and around Bank of Africa branch. There is a smooth flow of traffic, but when you move ahead somewhere near the SP petrol station and of course around Oryx, you're going to find a few orange zones which indicate that there is a bit of a traffic holdup there, but it is quite small, so you will be able, I think it is being caused by this road that comes up from Mbuya joining Port Bell Road, and it's not too much, so you should be able to move in record time. The orange zones which indicate that there is some bit of a traffic holdup in some places continue, but they're not something to worry about because the hugest part of the road indicates that there is smooth flow of traffic that side of town. Now, if when you reach Chitintali and from Chitintali Road, you will find that there is smooth flow of traffic, but then when you join the main Port Bell Road, you will be held up just a bit, nothing much to worry about. So now let's continue still along Port Bell Road as we approach Bugolobi side and around Spring Valley Apartments, that is the apartments near Silver Springs Hotel, you're going to find a little bit of traffic there, and yes, you may be spending a few minutes there, maybe 10, but then you will be able to move along pretty quickly. Now when you go still into the area of Bugolobi, around the intersection that takes you to Spring Road, you're going to find a little bit of a hold-up. I see there is a red zone coming in from Luthuri Rise, meaning that the cars that are coming in from this side of town to join the main Portable Road are intense, and that explains the huge red zone you see along that section of the road. When you look at it, you see that right from the intersection at Bandali Rise to actually Old Portobello Road, there is a huge traffic over there. But when you join Spring Road, if you're going to the side of Bugolobi and Chitintale, then you'll find that for you will be able to move smoothly, but the people going to the heart of town, that is in Kampala, will be held up for a minute around there. Now, if you decide to go to not take the Spring Road and you decide to continue up to Chwatu Road, you're going to find some traffic there, both on Ismail Road and of course Chwatu Road. There you're going to be held up for quite some time because the traffic on these two roads is intense, and it still feeds into the main new Portobello Road. So you need to negotiate your route very carefully before you hit the road so that you're not held up. If you can use other feeder roads because others look pretty clear, then you should do that so that you don't get delayed on the side of New Portobello Road. Now continuing up ahead along Chwatu Road, you're going to find that the roads this side are clear, because when I look at the neighborhood of Robert Mugabe Road in Imbuya, the road looks okay up until a certain point when you're joining Chinawataka, but it is still nothing to worry about. You should be able to move as smoothly as possible. Now looking at Chinawataka Road itself, it looks quite clear. So as you move along this road heading to the side of Chireka, you're actually not going to be held up anywhere, because according to what I'm seeing here and what you're seeing there on the screen, it shows that there is a smooth flow of traffic along Chinawataka Road up until when it joins Chireka Road. So yes, if you're coming from that side or going that side, you are in luck. The road looks pretty clear. That's it for our traffic updates this morning. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Uganda. Up next is Agenda, and later on Ruben Pima will be coming in with sports. Thank you so much for watching.
Of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the Parish Development Model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real.
I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. We want
what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Nkwanga Ramazan is my name, the head teacher of this great school, Ikumbia Seed Secondary School. The school has the staff room well furnished, administration well furnished, the computer lab well furnished, the library wonderful, the multipurpose hall well furnished. The teachers are also enjoying in the staff quarters. The school has teachers totaling to 28. Ikumbia Seed has embraced the new curriculum. I want to thank the government for that bright idea. There are many students that end up in senior 4 with no document. But with the coming of the IT, the skill children are going to have certificates in skills as early as senior 3. And that certificate is equivalent to a senior 4 certificate. Ikumbia Seed Secondary School is a very great school that has influenced the lives of people or changed the lives of people of Ikumbia sub-county. I want to thank the parents and the government for this kind of input.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Hello there, welcome and good morning for being with us on UBC TV. We really appreciate your time, and of course for ardent viewers who are always with us Monday to Friday, a special thanks. And in case you've just joined, well, this is our morning show on UBC TV. Kindly make it a date with us every weekday. We are here from 6:30 till the hour of 9, and then an extension to 10. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono. Now this morning, we want to discuss something very important. That is the transport sector, but more specific, progress on the restoration works on Katonga Bridge. Now around May, of course, we had heavy rains, and it was very clear that Katonga Bridge had issues. Now this connects so much the greater Masaka, and now people had to move via Sembabule along a route, but also a bit disturbing in terms of the road and all that. But this very week, UNRA, that is the Uganda National Roads Authority, came up and clearly said, well, now buses can ply and use this route. Now, they also said, as work continues, They talked about phase 2, and of course so much that we still have to follow, as we shall then wake up and say, finally, restoration work is done, forever we shall use this bridge. Now, joining me on set is the communications officer of UNRA, that is Alan Sempe Wachobe. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you, Robert.
How have you been?
Yourself?
Fine, you've been a hard man to get, Alan.
Not really. I'm all over.
All over. I'm not in Kampala, I'm this way, I'm this way. We do a lot of movements.
Yes, that's true. That's true. We keep pushing.
Now, coming back to the topic of today, when you talk about this Katonga Bridge, since towards the end of May is when you began letting light vehicles traverse, then motorcycles definitely. What is the progress so far?
Thank you very much. You may all recall we had that disaster at Katonga, and we, as a national roads authority, our mandate is to move in, is to ensure connectivity. We have a mandate of ensuring that our road network stays alive to connect millions of Ugandans across the country. So we moved in at that point. We restored partially part of the bridge at Katonga, and were able to enable light traffic proceed to use the section at Katonga. And definitely that was a relief, because all traffic was using the newer road, the alternative route, that was the PG Kanoni Sembabule Villa Maria route to Masaka and back to Kampala. So we're able to bring in a bit of relief, reduce the traffic using the alternative back onto the Masaka main highway. And for us that was a milestone, because having been able to move in at a time we had that disaster, which was unexpected by the way, because we've had rains, we've had flooding across our network, but Katonga remained afloat until recently. So yes, we moved on, and we also promised Ugandans that we'll have the works cut into phases. One was the actual restoration that enabled light traffic, and secondly was the creation of a diversion at Katonga, and install or put up a steel bridge. You know, it's still a temporary item, but the steel bridge will still enable all nature of traffic now come back onto Masaka Highway and use Katonga, which works are now ongoing or commenced about 2 weeks ago.
For the steel bridge? For the
steel bridge. You know, so you will be able to see those metals being erected at the moment in Katonga. The contractor is on site. That is China Communications Construction Company Limited. They've already commenced the restoration works of phase 2. And like I've said, that being a diversion, we definitely shall have permanent works. So those are captured under phase 3 of works at Katonga. So we give it about 2 to 3 months for the diversion to be in place. All traffic will get onto the diversion. We've already relocated the utilities. The power lines, power poles at Katonga have been taken away, and site cleared well enough to accommodate the steel bridge. So then all traffic will now come back. You see, we've only allowed the light vehicles and buses. Now with the diversion, we know that all traffic will now flow at Katonga. But that will also give us an opportunity to now come back at the main bridge crossing, you know, and then put up or start with the construction of a permanent bridge at that section.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, currently, when you talked about buses being allowed to ply, are they plying on the previous where we had the light vehicles? Because according to the press release, it is like some research was carried out and discovered that this very bridge can also now accommodate vehicles that carry about 30 tons.
Yes, that is true. We've allowed them to use that same section that we restored under phase 1 of the restoration works. And yes, after our continuous assessments of the section, by the way, which we did even earlier on, to establish that even the light vehicles can move. So we were careful not to get into a disastrous affair where you load that bridge with all nature of traffic at the same time, or what to go. So we said, let's do this in a phase-wise manner, perhaps. Start with the light vehicles, see how they perform, but also how that restoration work performs. So until recently, we were able to establish that, well, when exposed to a load of up to 30 and a few tons, buses, the crossing can allow buses. So we opened up to the buses, and that is the situation at the on ground.
Okay.
And that was immediate that evening. Buses were now plying the route yet again.
Okay, so for our viewer to be more specific, we are talking about 2 bridges here. We have one that is going to be constructed under the diversion. That work has commenced, but it's still, I don't know how long it's going to take. But I was in Masaka about 2 weeks back. I saw this still, and I saw the company trying to do something. But then we have the previous, that maybe I want to call the old bridge, that we are currently moving on, where restoration work was done.
Yes.
That is the one, Alan, you're saying now buses can use, after finding out that vehicles of 30 tons can now also apply the same route. Now, we know this is a very big opportunity now, because this road leads to so many parts of this country, Masaka, when you take that. Those that are going through Tanzania, of course there's the other diversion of Zimbabwe, but this is the most common. Now, what does this mean to the communities around?
Oh, this comes as a big relief. You don't know, Robert. It's a big relief, because previously business owners were cut off from business. Trade was terribly disorganized or affected, because now motorists, but also traders, were forced to use the much longer route, you know, and you know that means more time, more cost of production, because the cost of transportation go high, but also you use more time, and that means when goods reach the final consumer, they will be at a much higher price than usual. Businesses at Katonga, Lukaya and beyond were terribly affected. I've just seen on the set with the buses coming back onto Katonga, Lukaya has now opened up. There is a market in Lukaya that was on a standstill. So business owners have welcomed this move or development, and we know that it's going to bring about a huge relief, you know, to businesses that have been using that road.
Talking about a huge relief, now we are eager to have the restoration and the permanent construction. Which spell of time are we talking about here?
For phase 2, which we're now working on or undertaking, we hope to be done in about 2 to 3 months. So hopefully by Christmas time, the steel bridge will be in place, and traffic will be using the crossing at Katonga. All nature of traffic, remember. Thereafter, we'll now commence on the much bigger works, which are the permanent works that will involve raising the profile of that area, that crossing, and then putting up a bigger, longer, permanent bridge at Katonga. That will take a bit of time, and at that point we'll be able to give you details of that contract when works actually start. But for now, under phase 2, we are concentrating on phase 2, ensuring that we put that steel bridge in place. But we're also getting set to commence the permanent works, because at least we have a contract already. We have a contractor who has already been identified. The contractor is called Kodrosi, has done similar work in the country, has done works of that nature, has the competence, has the capacity, has the resources, the personnel and equipment to execute this job. So we know we're going to get a very good job from the contractor.
Okay, so what then happens at the end? We have 2 bridges like Ginger, you have the steel bridge, and then also this.
The other one will be decommissioned, can be easily decommissioned, because it's a temporary diversion.
Yes.
Yes, just to, first of all, cause relief for all cars to cross, but at the same time, during the construction of the permanent works, remember, They'll be at the current old bridge location. So during the construction of that bridge, we must have a diversion. So which is what is being erected or put up right now. So it will support connectivity or crossing while we do undertake works on the permanent bridge.
Alan, why do we see that most of the projects in the road construction are not given to domestic companies? Yet we talk about Bubu, Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. I see China Communications Construction Company Limited and many of these. Do we lack capacity?
Can I say yes and no? Yes and no, but the situation is no longer as terrible as it was before. And I think we now see a bright future for our local firms participating in the tedious construction works sector in this country. When such works actually come on board, we have a component for local subcontracting, where the big foreign firms bring on board local contractors. So we're seeing this on many of our projects, including a Kampala flyover project, where the local companies are brought on board to support in the construction works, either through supply of materials, through building channels, through laying asphalt, and so many other aspects of work of construction. So we are seeing them, that is intended to uplift the industry, the sector, by way of equipping, resourcing, tooling, capacity-wise, so that in future we can have many of these actually take on these very cumbersome construction works. So yes, we're having them on board, even during the development programs of our roads. I also want to tell you that for maintenance programs, we have over 90% of our local contractors involved in maintenance programs on our roads. So I think that is a step towards achieving that objective, ensuring that our contractors are equipped, are empowered, but can also undertake in the business of road construction.
Okay, now my viewer, you can be able to participate in today's topic of discussion, which is looking at the progress on the restoration work of Katonga Bridge. We need your views, we need your opinions, and of course your concerns. Maybe some of you have already used the 30-ton above vehicles on this very bridge. You have experienced a number of challenges. Now the big question here is, there is a notion in the public that roads, bridges constructed maybe about 5 decades ago, if you compare them with what you're doing currently, because Uganda, you're the National Roads Authority here, that in terms of durability or longevity, one looks at the old bridge of Ginger and the one that now we have, and what comes in their mind first is, will this really live a period of time that the old bridge has lived? Now today we are talking about still, then we shall have permanent restoration work. So Katonga, what is not working out properly when it comes to longevity? When you look at some of the roads, Alan, you move around, they were done of recent, then they're full of potholes, then you try to look at those older roads, they seem to be pushing on amidst all the challenges.
Thank you, Robert. I don't think it's true that the older roads are pushing on. Indeed, what we're doing actually for such roads, we're already undertaking rehabilitation programs or reconstruction. So it may not be entirely true that they're actually pushing on, because the dynamics have changed. The traffic dynamics have changed in this country.
Yes.
We have more drivers, we have more vehicles coming in, we have more business opportunities coming up, we have more already existing, a different picture from the times before. So it is not
so what is changing is that those days there are less traffic, so the roads would stand a longer time, and today there is more traffic.
But yes, but also like I said, we have a lot of opportunities coming up and businesses opening up. So that means we have more trucks ferrying materials, we have more vehicles moving merchandise. We have businesses actually not the same as it were before. So our roads also take this also tends to take a toll on our highways. But however, that aside, we build for generations. We don't build for tomorrow, rather for a few years. We build these roads to last. And remember, we have new technologies which we didn't have before. So we know that with those technologies coming up, with the new designs of our highways, we expect these roads to last longer, to serve Ugandans longer. But again, be mindful that the trends have actually changed. We have more traffic growth on our highways, and this actually puts a strain on our highways. The example of the source of the Nile Bridge that you just given, well, it can be in your mind, but it's not true, because we've designed the Nile Bridge, the source of the Nile Bridge, to last for over 100 years. And we know it will actually get there. We know it will, because state-of-the-art technology was used. We used the competent Japanese contractor. That project was finished on time, within cost. So we know it will last.
There was a time when there was, you said it is, when there was kind of like a peeling off and...
No. At that time, we were taking trials. You know, it was the first time we were laying this kind of bridge. So if the asphalt layer is definitely different from the usual that you put on a normal highway. And that was a test trial. And what we did, when the bridge deck was laid, we said, well, we can allow traffic. We could have afforded to say, no, let's do everything at a go, then allow traffic to flow. But we said, no, let us allow traffic. It will also help us actually undertake or conduct these test trials on this asphalt and how it actually behaves. And that's what you did. That's what you saw happening. So it was for a short time, and we laid the eventual layer. And from then on, the results are awesome.
Okay. Hope when we have anything, it won't be technical explanation regarding that. But you can join us by simply sending us a WhatsApp message on the number on your screen, or a text message on the same number. And I can guarantee you I'll be reading out your messages to my guest in studio this morning as we talk about what is happening when it comes to Katonga Bridge restoration work. Very soon, yes, you'll have a steel bridge there, and this will be permanent. Alan said it's going to be permanent, not the temporary one, as restoration work for temporary works will be commencing also on Katonga Bridge. Now, when you talk about this steel bridge, you said soon we shall have it up. How soon is this going to be?
We hope that in about 2 to 3 months we have this steel bridge in place. And
2 to 3 months.
Like I indicated, our target is to have the steel bridge in place by Christmas. So it will be another Christmas gift to travelers to Masaka and beyond.
Alan, you once told us how soon we shall have the Kampala Express, this flyover dealt with, and if you remember the deadline, but up to today still long, young to drive, leave alone this temporary thing, this short distance, right from around in Zambia Police Barracks, where you have to drive up to Clock Tower. But you had assured us. What happens? Sometimes most of these road construction programs, projects end up extending. And I want to base on that for what you are expecting currently. Why do we see extensions? What happens?
First of all, we try as much as possible to implement our programs within cost, but also within time. We try as much as possible, and we put supervisors on these projects to ensure that we meet our timelines on these projects. But sometimes things change. You remember we should have had the Kampala flyover as early as possible, but were greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now that put a strain on construction activities. Remember, we had to reduce the workload. We had to reduce some of the works that were done on site. Some of the technical expertise on that project, the Japanese were locked out of the country, and some equipment had hardly landed in Uganda. But I can assure you that when we had a breather in the economy, and when we had the President of Uganda relax the COVID-19 restrictions on construction and other sectors, works moved or took on a supersonic speed, and now we're seeing a great progress. So usually without factors like those.
Where are you seeing that progress?
On the Kampala flyover.
Clock Tower, these guys have been there for ages.
For the reasons I've shared.
When we look at this there's this stretch around Zambia from Total, then that sharing. I use that route often.
Yes.
But it's coming to today when they break here, tomorrow they're here, then they invite you here, then. So that is progress.
Absolutely, because you see work ongoing. At least you're not seeing a scenario. We would be expecting for people to tell us that, wait a minute, I use the road on a daily basis, I see no work going on. The contractor's equipment is off-site.
This could also be busy.
Not really, it is actually work. Remember, this is the first flyover project of its kind we have in this country, which makes it a historical project, first of its kind. But also, it is undertaken in a very busy environment, the CBD. So usually it is quite tedious to execute some of these works in an area that is busy as Kampala town is. We have to keep providing for pedestrians, we have to provide for motorists, we have to provide for the cyclists. So we have to work under those dynamics, but at the same time ensure safety of our site. That's why actually we've not registered a single incident of an accident during the construction of those works. And I think for me that is phenomenal, that needs to be appreciated. That said, works are ongoing. We're trying to work as fast as possible to deliver this project on time. We can't afford to delay. It is not our business actually to delay. We want to open up this link to Ugandans. We want to open up because we know the losses that we have are already enough. We want to see business gains. We want to see more traffic coming into Kampala easily, without delays, conduct their business transactions on time, and leave the town and have money in their pockets. So we want to thrive. We want to increase our trade competitiveness. So if you have those goals, you can't afford to delay. You cannot. So we were doing what we can to have these works progress.
Okay, well, message coming in. Good morning, my beautiful Ugandan. Allow me ask UNRA officer, if a vehicle of 30 tons can cross the bridge, why is these lorries carrying goods of matoke weighing about 18 to 20 tons are still sent via the diversion? Well, that's an observation from one of our viewers.
Yes, it's been a common observation. We took note, but we also want to maybe bring this out to the public, that we want to do this in a phase-wise arrangement. We do not want to overly load that crossing with all nature of traffic as yet. That is why when we opened up in the beginning, at the end of the month of May, it was around May 31st, to lighter vehicles, we could not bring on the buses at that point. Said we will continue undertaking assessments, monitoring of this site to see if it can actually take on extra loads. So while we said yes, when exposed to a load of 30 tons, the crossing is able to perform well, we're also careful not to bring in all nature of traffic at the same time, either under or around the same tonnage. So we said let's move in a phase-wise manner. Let's allow buses, see how it also works. After all, we will also have provided relief to the transportation business, but also see how we can progress around that. We don't want to pound this crossing with all traffic at the same time. So let's see how this behaves. Who knows, in future we could open up to another section of vehicles or vehicle categories. So that's how we're moving.
Well, quite interesting though to a person. Recently I found someone there, he had not really a fuso, but he had pigs, and I asked, well, what has happened? He said, I cannot cross, so these people ferry them here, then I continue with them. Now with the buses, of course, for an ordinary Ugandan, those are questions they would wonder. What is more lighter if you're to compare a truck carrying about 30 pigs to the market and a bus, like you've just seen, which one would take more? Well, another one, hi Chirabu, please ask the guest about the Ginger Express Highway, how far and what's the latest? Well, I want to stick so much to Katonga Bridge, but since it has come in, a quick one.
Yes. Government of Uganda has a program to implement a number of expressways on our road network. We've already done the Kampala Entebbe Expressway. We are now undertaking works on the Busega and PG Expressway. Works are ongoing. The question is particular on the Kampala-Jinja Expressway. So it's among a network of expressways that government of Uganda is implementing to increase our trade competitiveness with the rest of the region. As you know, it's a major trade route connecting us to the east and further. I want to also update Ugandans that we have a procurement exercise ongoing, and that we are following up on this procurement closely. We hope that by the end of this year we have updates or milestones we can share with the Ugandans as regards to the contracting process. But the good news again is that we are undertaking land acquisition, or we are acquiring the right of way ahead of time, that by the time the contractor hits the ground, or we secure a contractor, we have enough space within which the contractor can undertake works, so that we don't delays. Some of the delays we've had on our projects are occasioned by land acquisition challenges. So
the famous tree.
Absolutely. So you're on site and you can't move, meaning the contractor's productivity is affected greatly, and the works cannot proceed. So you delay in works. So we've achieved over 50% of land acquired, and for us that's a huge milestone in regards to implementation of the Kampala-Jinja Expressway.
Now another one, it says, when do we expect to finish the whole work at Tegeka David from Hoima? That is regarding the Katonga, that we shall have, yes, the steel bridge is done, it is decommissioned. Now we have the old bridge that was fully restored and can contain all nature of traffic.
Yes, like I said, there are phases. First was done, partial restoration. We're going on to the diversion. We're going to put up a diversion. That diversion will be there for as long as possible, and whenever we finish the permanent works on the bridge at Katonga. So we will not decommission the steel bridge until we have the permanent works done. Why? Because it will allow continuity in transportation. So we will not take it away until the permanent works are done. And like I said, construction or establishment of the steel bridge is now ongoing, which should take us not more than 3 months, and it will open to traffic. So we want to see traffic steadily moving on the other side of the bridge, and then we commence works on the permanent bridge.
Well, you can still send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on the number on your screen, and I'll be reading it out to the Commissions Officer Yunra, who is my guest today, Alan, and of course he'll be responding to that. We are looking at progress regarding the restoration of the Katonga Bridge, now that buses were allowed to use that route again, and vehicles of that load up to 30 tons. Now that is a bit also kind of tricky.
It's limiting.
It's kind of limiting.
And it's deliberate and for that purpose.
And it's deliberate.
Yes.
So then also, something seem obvious, but not very obvious.
That's true.
Now, for an ordinary driver, I'm going to Masaka, a bus is ahead of me, then I'm driving. How, who is it, the police I find that deter me and tell me, well, you don't qualify to pass? Because visually looking at, or imaginary, if a bus is ahead of you and it's using this route, some people see that as a heavy vehicle carrying heavy luggage. Some carry so much under them, and then plus the passengers. So how do we get to this? And as you know, is it punishable if out of ignorance or failure to determine the weight of my vehicle, I end up approaching this bridge?
Yes, we have a weighing mechanism, where we're able to understand the weight of a particular vehicle. And buses, in fact, our experts established that the crossing can now accommodate up to 30 tonnage of weight. And the buses, from the study that was done in Uganda, are up to about 26 tons. So maybe the largest could slightly be. So we added in an allowance of actually 30 tons. But actually the buses are even much lower in tonnage. So to the eye, may be different. Just like when you're surveying a land, somebody is telling you from that point, somebody is trying to tell you that from that point to this point is a straight line. But when you look at that with your eye, it looks different. That's not a straight line. It happens normally in surveying of land. So the same for weighing. So until you've actually weighed, you then appreciate the tonnage. So we're doing this in a scientific arrangement, so we can't go wrong on it.
Still regarding the same, good morning, someone says at least let them allow empty trucks to cross Bruce from Juba.
Why did I say it's limiting? It appears limiting.
If I took goats or cows and bring them to Kampala on my lorry, I can use the same bubble. When I'm going back, if the truck is empty, then I can drive through.
That is true. It looks limiting to any ordinary person, but like I said, it's deliberate on our part so that we do not have, because there's so many vehicles of that kind that would then be wishing to use that crossing. So many of them. And in fact, if we had said that all Atego buses and others, we'll have so many. So we're saying let's go category per category, and if we again conduct in the process of establishing the steel bridge that we're working on right now, if again we study how the buses behave, I mean, who knows, we can actually reach a point and say, oh, wait a minute, I think the buses have exerted extra load on the crossing. Perhaps we should tone down on the bus category and we bring in another category, which probably will be lighter. So we don't want to move in all at once, or again we may be destined for a disaster at that crossing. So we're being careful again, and I think you will agree with me that life is precious, so we don't want to lose lives, but we also don't want to lose your precious assets that you'll be crossing. So let's go step at a time, and we know we shall get there.
This is Mutegeki Godfrey from Hoima Oil City. Yeah, well, he says, thank you for the update about Katonga Bridge. We pray that the contractor does genuine work that will last decades. Otherwise, thank you for the work done. And good morning, sir. A quick enlightenment from our guest upon the Busabala Road. Please, this is Peter from Kawala. Let's go with those two.
Okay. Thank you. I think the first was appreciation, but also hoping the contractor does a good job. Like I indicated, we picked on a contractor that has done similar work. That contractor, by the way, did the Kampala Entebbe Expressway, did a bridge crossing at Para Bridge along the Nile in the Bunyoro sub-region, so, and has the facilities already in place. So we know that they're already competent in this area, and we know that they will deliver a good job. Of course, coupled with our supervision, we know that a good job will be done. So we have no doubts about this contractor. We know a good job will be done. Busabala. Najana Kumbi Busabala is one of the road projects we're undertaking at the moment, and the works are ongoing. They've been delayed, largely due to two factors. One was, actually three. First was COVID-19. I want to say that most of the projects that took off around that area at that time were greatly affected. So it remains a common factor. When we picked on again, land acquisition again affected our progress. You know, we have landowners who had previously consented to giving us land so we can execute, and they turned around and said, no, wait a minute, I think I need some money as well. So those actually delayed us. Land acquisition has several other challenges to it. We have land disputes. People who have families with land disputes have greatly also affected us in a progress. But those we handle in a systematic arrangement. We bring them on board, we have discussions, we negotiate. It's a negotiation. Land belongs to the people, as you know. You cannot take it without compensation, and fair compensation at that. So that takes a bit of our time. Then finances. You may have known recently, at least the last 3 financial years, our economy has been stumbling. We have relief here and there, but not quite a huge relief. So the finances have not been coming in as steadily as they were before. But we're engaging. But the most important thing is the contractors don't lay down their tools. Under that arrangement, they're saying, no, we'll stick with Ugandans, we'll work for you as money comes in. And they're on ground working.
Well, Alan, before I let you go, what is your parting shot to our viewers regarding Katonga Bridge progress?
We want to assure Ugandans that all that should be done is being done at the moment. We are not seated. Definitely we can't. This is a major trade corridor that supports business. Roads are a lifeline of our economy. So we can't afford to sit back, because our mandate is to support the economy of this country, to ensure that it grows, it thrives, people get money in their pockets. So, and roads facilitate that. So we can't afford to sit back and relax. So nobody should deceive you that UNRA is taking its time. No, together with partners, the Ministry of Finance, and by extension, Government of Uganda, we're doing all that is possible to get the money, to get this contract out of the way, to get the works moving, so that people can yet again use this crossing. So all we request from them is a little bit of some patience, but we're not seated.
Well, and all the public expects from you is quality, durable work, and of course, quickening the process.
That's true.
We need to expedite this so that we can fully enjoy this bridge as it connects so much, that corridor. Ruben will be up for sports. See you in the next hour. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
On your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on